So good afternoon, everybody. We are still missing the mayor of Lviv on our panel. So let's give him, Boris, 1 second. Okay. Пане Садовий, чекаємо на вас. So now we are complete and we may start. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, шановні панство, шановні пані та панове, my name is Oleksiy Feliv. I am a managing partner of a law firm headquartered in Kyiv. I've been doing all my life, and this is 20 years of professional work, real estate. And since the war, we started with American Affordable Houses Institute, a project on housing and rehousing. And I am very happy that I have the honor to moderate this excellent panel on the temporary shelters and some long-term solutions we are going to talk about. There are 3 things I'm going to do differently from what you've seen here. Okay, so first, we've been asked by organizers ideally not to put the presentations. That's why I ask everybody to prepare a presentation. And I've seen the presentations, they are great, and I am sure you will enjoy them. The second thing, we've been asked to prepare some questions in advance to the panelists, and I omitted this on purpose. So there are no prepared questions. There's going to be a lovely and lively discussion. And I am not going to introduce at the beginning everybody, because it will take too much time. So what I am going to do, I am going to announce the speaker, introduce the speaker, and then giving the word to the speaker, and then you just feel free to go ahead. Okay? So our first speaker will be the mayor of Lviv, Andriy Sadovyi. I don't think you need to introduce, Andriy Sadovyi is a mayor for many years, a very active and public person. Andriy, I understand you have a presentation in Ukrainian, so this is for you. This is for force and back, and the floor is yours. And if you, можливо, зручніше буде стати там, бачити вашу презентацію і аудиторію.
Окей. А є мікрофон? Polish, English, Ukrainian. I can use Ukrainian language, okay? You have translate, understand? Okay. Підготуйте.
Maybe somebody we can bring for the panelists who need.
Окей. Як то краще? Чекай, ні, тут не буде добре видно, я собі так стану, напевно. Доброго дня, шановні друзі, шановні колеги. Для мене велика честь сьогодні бути тут, особливо коли з цього прекрасного палацу ти споглядаєш литовище, і там кожних декілька хвилин прилітають літаки, які допомагають нашій державі. І дякуючи цьому ми можемо виживати в дуже складних умовах. Сьогоднішня тема є дуже цікавою. Ми будемо говорити про майбутнє, тому що будь-хто, хто будує, він думає про майбутнє. І пам'ятаю деякі розмови, ну як це так, в Україні війна, там, напевно, не можна будувати, треба щось таке тимчасове. Ну, вибачте, ми є велика європейська країна, і коли я мав дискусії з багатьма партнерами в світі, я їм наводив приклад. З квітня по липень ми у Львові збудували постійне житло для вагітних жінок, для переселенок. Дуже великі такі будинки. Ніхто не зрозумів, як це можливо збудувати за такий короткий термін, але в часі війни багато речей неможливих стають можливими. І коли я дебатую з колегами, я говорю, що жінки, які очікують народження дітей, вони не можуть чекати, коли закінчиться війна. Тому треба сьогодні будувати і робити речі правильно. Так, є різна ситуація в Україні, є міста, які знаходяться в окупації, ми плануємо, що там має бути. Є міста, які деокуповані, і, звичайно, там треба бути дуже обережним, тому що ці міста час до часу достатньо серйозно обстрілюють. Але є Західна Україна, є Львів, І, в принципі, ми активно у Львові будуємо житло, будуємо індустріальні парки, незважаючи на війну. Мене питають, а як? Я говорю, а оце так, нормальне життя в часі війни. Тому що ми маємо думати про майбутнє. Я вам підготував невелику презентацію. Так, це куди має бути? Окей. Оце весь світ бачив, і тут багато подібного було в польських містах. 5 мільйонів українців пройшло через Львів за ті місяці війни. Різні локації були перебудовані. Взагалі ми перебудували 500 локацій. Сьогодні всі школи працюють, діти пішли до школи, і ми сьогодні у Львові маємо 150 тисяч тимчасово переміщених осіб. Оце тимчасове житло, але настільки воно гармонійно і якісно збудовано, і дитячі частинки для дітей, що дуже часто діти з сусідніх житлових масивів приходять сюди бавитися. Тобто все, що ми робимо, треба робити естетично досконало. Це дуже важливо є. Ще один цікавий кейс. Оцей хлопець, будучи з Харкова, він написав книжку, перебуваючи в тимчасовому житлі, і вже її видав в друк, як вчити англійську мову. Вчитель англійської мови, який тимчасово в нас перебував. Зараз він вернувся назад, тому що на Харківщину там вже є безпечно. Оце Unbroken Mothers для вагітних жінок. Ми за 3 місяці збудували це повноцінне житло, яке сьогодні нормально працює, і ми не боїмося, ми віримо в завтрашній день. Оце екосистема, яку ми будуємо у місті Львові. Оце є... туди краще. Зараз. Ні, це є Шевченківський район. Оце є доросла лікарня, це є дитяча лікарня. Оце ми зараз перебудовуємо будівлі під реабілітаційний центр. Значить, оце має бути великий операційний блок. Зараз будемо оголошувати архітектурний конкурс. Оцю будівлю маємо будувати спільно з австрійською компанією ВАМЕД, ще один реабілітаційний комплекс. Оце 19 мільйонів євро Європейська комісія виділяє для будівництва житла для людей, які зазнали уражень війни. І зараз ми оголосили архітектурний конкурс, але нам треба це збудувати буквально на протязі наступного року. Оце ми перебудовуємо будівлю під ще один реабілітаційний центр. Також зараз оголосили архітектурний конкурс. Отут мають бути збудовані такі великі виробництва по виробництву протезів. Так? Оце лінія трамвайна, яку ми зараз проєктуємо в цей район, щоб можна було швидко добратися. В чому є суть? Ми за останні місяці, за тих 9 місяців, отримали 11 тисяч поранених українців. І я маю думати про якісне оперування, а наш медичний комплекс – це 180 тисяч метрів квадратних, і це є 4 тисячі медичних працівників. І на базі нього ми вибудовуємо екосистему Unbroken, незламні. Питання операції, питання тимчасового протезу, питання постійно діючого протезу, реабілітація психологічна, соціальна, фізична, де люди мають жити, де вони мають працювати, де вони мають займатися спортом. І це все ми зараз проєктуємо і будуємо. І ми не чекаємо на закінчення війни, тому що люди, які без ноги, без руки, їм треба сьогодні допомагати. Тому мені важливо, щоб світ це зрозумів, бо ці компанії, ці архітектурні бюро, які сьогодні з нами в цей складний час, вони будуть мати дуже великі замовлення і вони будуть мати дуже велику перспективу розвитку. Оце ми зараз... Оце ми перебудовуємо оцю будівлю. Тут буде ще один великий корпус реабілітаційного центру. Зараз збираємо кошти. Вже почали роботи, хоча до кінця коштів немає. Але якщо ви до Львова приїдете через 4 місяці, ви побачите там серйозний реабілітаційний процес. Оце за кошти Європейського банку, оце коричневе, а оце з австріяками будуємо. Тобто мій посил – не бійтеся. Ми нормально живемо. Так, нас обстрілюють. Так, ми дуже багато часу проводимо в укриттях, але ми думаємо про майбутнє. Тут сьогодні є на форумі близько 30 мерів. Одна половина голови думає про ситуацію сьогодні, а друга половина думає про майбутнє. Тому запрошую вас всіх до співпраці, не боятися, йти вперед і перемагати. Тому що страх – це є зброя, яку ворог використовує. А наша сила в єдності і в русі вперед. Only victory. Дякую.
Thank you. We will for sure get back after the panelists to discuss a bit on this. Bogusław, the floor will be yours. Bogusław is, I understand, from the administration of Przemyl's council. You may introduce yourself more if you wish. You have 7 minutes to present.
Dzień dobry Państwu, ja się przedstawię, jestem wiceprezydentem miasta Przemyśla, nazywam się Bogusław Świeży i chciałbym opowiedzieć o tym, jak miasto Przemyśl wcieliło się w inną rolę niż mu zostało przypisane. W związku z tym, że miasto Przemyśl jest miastem jednym z najbliższych granicy z Ukrainą, zostało wytyczone jako miasto tranzytowe, a więc miasto, które miało największe zadanie przyjąć, zaopatrzyć, przekazać właściwą pomoc i wysłać maksymalną ilość osób dalej do miejsc docelowych. Natomiast już pierwszy dzień nam pokazał, że to nie będzie takie proste do wykonania. Już wtedy uświadomiliśmy sobie, że osoby uciekające przed wojną to nie są osoby w świetnej kondycji fizycznej, to nie są osoby, które mogą dalej podróżować bez ograniczeń. Więc już wtedy zdecydowaliśmy o tym, że jako samorząd otworzymy miejsca noclegowe. Oczywiście byliśmy ograniczeni, ponieważ wiedząc, jaki duży potok zbliża się albo jest na granicy i jaki za niedługo będzie w Przemyślu, mogliśmy tę pomoc świadczyć krótkoterminowo. To była 1-2 noce po to, żeby te osoby mogły odpocząć, mogły dojść do w pełni sytuacji też swojej zdrowotnej i udać się w dalszą drogę. Na początku były to nasze placówki oświatowe, na początku były to nasze placówki kulturalne, w których udało nam się zorganizować około 1500 miejsc. Oczywiście to wciąż było za mało. Wciąż potrzeby były dużo większe i szukaliśmy jako samorząd przestrzeni. My już tej przestrzeni jako jednostka nie mieliśmy, ale szukaliśmy tej przestrzeni, w której moglibyśmy wykorzystać jakieś posiadane miejsce do tego, aby stworzyć kolejne miejsce wsparcia dla uchodźców z Ukrainy. I tak powstało Centrum Pomocy Humanitarnej, potocznie zwane naszym TECO. Miejsce, w którym pierwszy dzień już mieliśmy 2000 osób nocujących i tak naprawdę myśmy mieli swoje know-how na to, jak to chcemy, żeby to prowadzić, natomiast ono już pierwszej nocy upadło, ponieważ nie mając kompletnie przygotowania, nie mając kompletnie zorganizowanego tego miejsca, mieliśmy 2000 ludzi przed drzwiami i zdecydowaliśmy się otworzyć je zupełnie, mimo tego, że nie zrobiliśmy jeszcze do końca tego, co byśmy chcieli. To miejsce było miejscem tymczasowym. Dla niektórych stało się miejscem nawet dłuższego pobytu, kilkutygodniowego i dłużej. Ale generalnie było to miejsce, które miało dać szansę. Miejsce, w którym zgromadziliśmy organizacje międzynarodowe, zgromadziliśmy podmioty zagraniczne, które dla konkretnych osób oferowały konkretne wsparcie w konkretnym miejscu. Ale my też, mając ograniczone zaufanie, stworzyliśmy pewien system ochronny. Ten system polegał na tym, że mieliśmy swoją aplikację i każda osoba, która trafiała do naszego Centrum Pomocy Humanitarnej, przechodziła proces rejestracji. W momencie rejestracji my wiedzieliśmy o tej osobie tyle, ile zechciała nam oczywiście powiedzieć, ale staraliśmy się też dowiedzieć, w które miejsce chce się następnie udać. I w ten sposób parując zarówno osoby do konkretnych miejsc, ale mając też organizacje, które w te konkretne miejsca chciały te osoby wywozić, w ten sposób żeśmy starali się pomóc osobom, które uciekając przed wojną nie miały swojego pomysłu, nie wiedziały, gdzie chcą się udać. Dla zabezpieczenia dla tych osób stworzyliśmy też możliwość potwierdzenia dojazdu bezpiecznego na właściwe miejsce. Każdy samochód do nas przyjeżdżający po osoby chcące udać się w konkretne docelowe miejsce w Europie był rejestrowany. Każdy kierowca był rejestrowany, każdy kierowca był sprawdzany przez policję i dopiero po sprawdzeniu i po weryfikacji mógł otrzymać konkretną grupę osób i udać się z nią w miejsce docelowe. Tak stworzyliśmy Centrum Pomocy Humanitarnej, które oprócz tej pomocy noclegowej jest także miejscem pomocy rzeczowej, ponieważ już dzisiaj według naszych statystyk wiemy, że w tym miejscu przenocowaliśmy ponad 250 000 osób. Wiemy też, że z tego miejsca wysłaliśmy ponad 2000 transportów na Ukrainę. To miejsce wciąż istnieje. Ono już dzisiaj istnieje w ograniczonym, tak jak wynika to z potrzeb. Natomiast postanowiliśmy sobie, że to miejsce tak długo, jak długo my będziemy mieli możliwość je prowadzić, bo prowadzimy je sami, bez wsparcia rządowego prowadzimy jako samorząd łącznie z organizacjami międzynarodowymi i tak długo jak będziemy w stanie to miejsce i tak długo jak będą osoby, które będą chciały z tego miejsca korzystać, tak długo to miejsce będzie w tej przestrzeni funkcjonować. Na dzień dzisiejszy to już nie są takie duże liczby, to są liczby sięgające dobowo około 200 osób. W większości te osoby albo udają się później za granicę, przede wszystkim do Niemiec, co drugi dzień z Przemyśla odjeżdża pociąg do Niemiec, więc te osoby w taki sposób próbują się tam dostać, ale zanim, bo na przykład jak przyjadą w dzień, kiedy tego pociągu nie ma, to mają szansę odpocząć i właściwie też przygotować się na tą dalszą drogę. Mieliśmy problem ze stworzeniem miejsc dłuższego pobytu, dlatego że jakby cały czas wszystkie dotacje rządowe, które szły dla Przemyśla, nie dotyczyły możliwości utworzenia takich miejsc. Ale znalazły się organizacje międzynarodowe, dzięki którym na dzień dzisiejszy przygotowujemy około 400-450 miejsc dla rodzin, dla matek z dziećmi, które będą mogły przebywać w tych miejscach długotrwale. Zakładamy taką przestrzeń półroczną, aby ten półroczny okres był takim okresem, w którym dana osoba będzie mogła poprawić swój język, ewentualnie się go nauczyć, znaleźć się na rynku pracy, znaleźć też opiekę dla własnego dziecka, czy to w przedszkolu, czy to w szkole i na tyle przygotować się do samodzielnego funkcjonowania, aby po tym pół roku wejść już normalnie w rynek pracy, funkcjonując już w pełni na rynku przestrzennym i na rynku przemysłowym miasta Przemyśla. Oczywiście pewnie potrzeb jest dużo więcej. Chcielibyśmy to rozszerzać i pewnie będziemy myśleć nad kolejnymi projektami. To jest też troszkę ograniczone przepisami, bo my jako samorząd mamy pewne ograniczenia, w których, bo to wszystko przepisy nam regulują, w których możemy wydatkować pewne środki, w których możemy te środki zagospodarowywać. Natomiast dziękujemy, że są organizacje międzynarodowe, które chcą nas wspierać w tym całym procesie, które chcą nam pomagać i w tym procesie też są dla nas partnerami. My ich traktujemy jako partnerów, ale jednocześnie widzimy, że ten cel, który dla nas wszystkich jest celem, żeby pomóc tym osobom znaleźć się w przestrzeni miasta, jest szczególnie istotny. Jeżeli miałbym jakąś sugestię, to jest sugestia trudna do zrealizowania przez samorząd, to na pewno widzimy, że jako miasto najbliższe granicy obserwujemy takie przyjazdy krótkoterminowe. Jeżeli coś się działo w Jaworowie, to widzieliśmy osoby z okolicznych miast, które przyjeżdżały i chciały się schronić na terytorium Polski. Jeżeli teraz widzimy, że nerwowo się zaczyna dziać w Lwowie chociażby, to te osoby szukając naturalnego schronienia przyjeżdżają do Przemyśla. Trzeba pamiętać, że Przemyśl ma też bardzo dużą społeczność ukraińską. W Przemyślu jest bardzo dużo osób, które przyjmując swoich bliskich, dają im też to schronienie tymczasowe na ten czas odczekania tych niebezpiecznych zdarzeń, które się dzieją po tej drugiej stronie. My jako samorząd jesteśmy otwarci na tą współpracę, my jako samorząd szukamy tych form współpracy, natomiast też pamiętamy o tym, że najistotniejsze dla nas jest ta pomoc niesiona osobom, które pojawiają się w panice, uciekając przed wojną. Dziękuję.
Dziękuję Bogusław. Dziękuję bardzo za. Thank you a lot for the support your city is doing for Ukrainians as indeed the closest border city, and we hope that this short-term accommodation you are providing will not be needed soon. We hope so by winning this war. I will give the word to Michael Capponi. Michael Capponi is the founder and president at the Global Empowerment Mission, which is an international organization that is disrupting the disaster sector through innovative, efficient, and modernized systems. So actually, with all these gentlemen now in the row, we will be talking about modernized solutions to the temporary or long-term housing. So Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. First, I want to congratulate the two mayors. As a disaster org that's been involved in, over 300 disasters all around the world, specifically in the United States, I've seen disasters in the United States with 10,000 people that are forced to leave their homes, that end up in tents, homeless. And the way I saw the management from the Polish side and in the Lviv side was really incredible. I couldn't even believe it. It's nowhere in the world have I seen that kind of immediate response, and I don't think anyone was prepared to handle, a couple million people like that at a time. So we arrived to the Medica border on February 25th. So as soon as we arrived, we interviewed people, and what they were saying is, we have family in another country, and we would like to go with them. So we immediately, this is about, right, solutions. This is about every disaster is different, and you have to find an immediate solution. So the solution immediately, based on the need at that time, was we need an immediate relocation program to bypass them from having to stay too long in shelters and to go straight to where they had a family that could take them. We partnered with a travel agency from Poland, Why Not Travel, and we partnered with former First Lady Jolanta Kwasieneska, and we put people out everywhere, in the Chemish train station, in everywhere you can imagine, Expo, everywhere. And those teams were basically asking people where they needed to go, and then we would process them. So we processed about 40,000 people. We sent them either on buses or bought them plane tickets to Finland, basically like 50 different countries. The program worked great. Then, by the end of April, Russia announced that they were going to be focused more on the east. They pulled out of many different places, and people that we were relocating were contacting us again, can you get us back? So then we immediately realized this might be a big waste of money if we keep sending money away and then they want to come back again. So we started slowing down the relocation program, and we shifted to our philosophy, which is how to get the most amount of people back into their homes for the least amount of money in the shortest amount of time. So there's big projects that cost a lot of money and that take a long time, and then there's quick repairs. We formulated a partnership immediately with, at first, Bucha City Council, and Bucha City Council showed us projects, and we asked for projects that could be repaired in 2-3 months, light repairs. So you look at a project, this one could put 200 people back into an apartment building. It needs a roof and some new windows. It's gonna cost $100,000. It's gonna be $200 a person to get them back into their homes. And the other need was, we need to have our children back in the schools. So then we needed to repair schools so that the people can this. The reason this is important is everything we've been trying to do from the humanitarian sector is to actually reverse the refugee crisis so that all of Poland and the rest of Europe doesn't have this gigantic influx. Because when we were interviewing people over and over with all our teams, and everybody was in those shelters in Poland and all throughout Europe, everybody wanted to go back to Ukraine. And that's what we were hearing. So we needed to find immediate solutions on how to get them back into Ukraine. So that's how we started. You could see these buses, for example. This is a bus that we would put people, Austria or Finland. Which one is that? This one? Okay. So with the philosophy that we have, how to get the most amount of people back into their homes in the quickest amount of time, you have to start with the lightest repairs first, right? Because that's what can be done first. So the lightest repairs are obviously buildings that weren't directly hit with a missile, but a missile hit one building, and then the 4 buildings around the building that got hit lost their windows because of the aftershock, right? So we started repairing windows immediately. And every time we put 2 windows like that back into an apartment building, a family of 5 or 6 people could actually move back. And it was producing, right, people coming back. And the stats speak for themselves. If you look at what Bucha looked like, for example, in May, as opposed to what it looked like in July, it's night and day. Everybody started coming back as soon as they saw that things were stimulating in that direction, right? So it was a Hope for Bucha project, and it was a kind of a pilot model. So to date, you see Hope for Bucha, we put those signs everywhere. And we never claimed that we were going to rebuild all Bucha. We wanted to start the forest fire of rebuilding in Bucha so everybody would get on it. So we have this program, you see at the bottom there, the 4 sponsors, United Way, for example, and different partners, so different banners and different projects partnered up with us. In one example, the Howard Buffett Foundation partnered with us for Voksana Street, and that is our joint project. And we're repairing that whole street as a new model. So this is a perfect example of how to get the most people back. You see this apartment building. All it needed really was new windows, new cooling system, and if you could see, heating system, you could see all the new windows now. You see, go back, that. 3 months. Look how many people it puts. 2,750 people back, just like that. For a minute amount of money, a couple $100,000 for all those windows. Because we are a humanitarian organization, so there's no profit, there's no contractors. You're buying the materials from Ukrainian window manufacturing companies. You're negotiating with them so they barely make a margin. And you're having Ukrainian labor, that's hybrid labor, that's installing them for pennies on the dollar because they want to rebuild their community. And that's how to get things done quickly and efficiently, and that's our model. In the private home sector, there was lots of homes that were slightly damaged. Again, in partnership with Bucha City Council, they provide the actual materials that they get from their own resources and some from the central government. And then we provided all the crews and labor to do that. And we've been averaging at about 50 homes being repaired per month, which is pretty good. And it's putting a lot of people back into their homes. So that's the gist of it. I'll say one more thing. When there's situations where a rocket or a missile hits the Kremenchuk Mall or in Odessa or in Venezia, a better example, all those surrounding buildings, the Venezia mayor was concerned that since all the windows blew out of all the surrounding buildings, that those people wouldn't be able to stay there for the winter. So it was extremely important that the windows were replaced in those buildings. So we were able to do that immediately, within 45 days, install everything, because you were dealing with just Ukrainian labor and Ukrainian materials, which puts money back into the economy, supports Ukraine, it supports everything. So that's basically our model. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. It's great impact with less expenses and at low cost. I think this is good example how we can do some quick wins. And we will move now further to Borys. Borys Dorogov is the CEO and partner at Balbec Bureau. It's a Ukrainian-based architecture and interior design practice for 18 years. And the bureau is working not only in Ukraine, but internationally. And Borys will show us what mentioned the mayor, that even if you go for short-term solutions, they must be aesthetic, they must look good, people must feel good in there. If you don't mind, you have the micro over there. And Michael, may I ask you to, yeah, that's great. So the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Borys, and I used to run a business and commercial company, which did lots of commercial projects for last like 14 years. And our background is, for example, Hotel Bursa in Kyiv, Cool Temple in San Francisco, Kyiv Food Market, China Marketing Center, exposition to Chernobyl 35 years date of tragedy, Grammarly headquarters, and many more. So that's where our expertise is. And how are we related to today's topic? Since the beginning of war, we understood that part of our team are already IDPs. And we started to dig into the topic of IDPs and solutions for IDPs and figure it out that on our mind, that solutions are completely outdated. They're based on mostly modular buildings made from containers, shipment containers, which not supposed to be used as something to give people shelter. So our response was to challenge that and make a comfortable living for people, even being in status of IDPs. So our main big idea of the project was dignity, no matter of what, and we started to develop it with three basic lines, which are personal comfort, reintegration, and dignity of people. So the personal comfort approach for us meant that there are lots of variations of families. There are lots of needs of the families who are who needs to find a shelter, and we cannot use only one scenario, only one furniture in them. So we developed 12 most frequently used scenarios for different types of families, and those scenarios can be implemented in any living model in our Ukraine housing system. How we work with the reintegration, despite the usual refugee camps or IDP camps, we've got lots of social areas. We've got we give people more comfort and more space and dedicate to each person a bigger area, and that helps people to live in normal conditions, to receive different, if they removed from the usual place, maybe they lost their work, so they can learn some new skills there because of common spaces. They can learn new language if they moved from Ukraine, for example. And that gives people option to reintegrate into society. And also, as an architectural bureau, we gave the whole camp a good look. So those buildings are supposed to be built for 15 years. It's like semi-temporary living, as we call it. And that lifespan also means that during their lives, they can be reassembled and on 2 new places. Like scenario, the ideal scenario of building such system is the first we build somewhere in relatively safe areas of Ukraine, for example, western regions. Then when the war is over, when we won the war, they can be moved, those buildings can be moved with people more closer to the initial cities to help them to rebuild their houses, streets, whatever, and live closer to the places they used to live. And third function, which it can be used afterwards, they can be reused in agronomical industry or military industry or any kind of industry as the housing for employees. Since we released the project, it gained a good outreach. We were invited to present it to Mr. Volodymyr Zelensky. We were presenting this project on Clinton Global Initiative annual meeting, and plus it was published in international media for more than 50 times, and we see the results of it. We started to build near Kiev, in Kiev region, in Bucha, the pilot project, which will help us to improve the model we are working on, and we already secured like 1/5 of investment and started to do the work. And it will be built in the end of the winter, brought to exploitation, and it will give a shelter for 15 families, which will also give us the feedback on the living in our project. So let's keep in touch and move forward with discussion. We'll be glad for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. We will have a Q&A session for sure. And I think that some of so you are about the design, and we are moving forward to Malcolm Wright, who is about the building materials, or some of the building materials you, Boris, might use or consider using in your project. So Malcolm is CEO at Cat5 Building Systems, an FCA developer and contractor with vast experience acting internationally and making not an advertisement, but just showing how his products work. Okay, the floor is yours, Malcolm.
Jolly good. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks very much for listening to me for the next few minutes. We've looked at, I looked at things with my partners slightly differently. We wanted to look at shelters. We made, sorry, it's gone the wrong way. Here we are. We looked at, in America, they're called tiny homes. And we wanted to, they're made of EPS foam and a fiberglass skin. They're designed to last for 20 years. The skin is very tough. These are the homes that we built in Canada. So it's used to down to minus 55 degrees. And we designed this home in the middle here, which was endorsed by the Polish Red Cross. As you can see, it comes with the solar on the roof because we thought power was very important. And it's a very lightweight panel, so it won't break, as you can see me jumping up and down on it. But we designed it as we thought that refugee villages would be best. And as you'll see later on, in the center is a aquaponic food production facility. So utilizing fish, shrimp, you can grow vegetables, and it gives the refugees and displaced people actually something to do. So I wanted to come up with the village style. Going back, we can utilize, they put this in the wrong order, but this is some of the stuff that I've done over in Spain and in Europe and the United States. The systems that we design are designed for 80% unskilled labor. So only 20%, so basically a team of 6, 1 skilled person and 5 unskilled people. We have the block system. I put an extra, whoops, I apologize. I put an extra wall in the center of the block. So I can get a U0.04 or R30 in my wall. I inject closed cell foam with it. Basically, if you can lift a concrete block above your head and hold it for 30 seconds, I'll give you a job. It's an ideal situation. It's color-coded because it's like Lego. So we give you a picture of this house wall, and you build it like Lego. You know exactly where each block will go. And we fill it with closed cell foam. We also have a wire mesh system, which we spray with shotcrete. And we can do 5 stories with that system. I can do 8 stories with the block system. This is for rebuilding Ukraine in the future. as soon as possible. This is the wire. Whoops. This is the wire mesh system. We have different panels for it for different parts of the building. In Orlando, Florida, I built the floors on the floor, and I built the roof on the floor and lifted them up. People can't hurt themselves, and this is the stuff that we built there. And these are some of the developments I've done below. Utilizing our solar panels, you can't use a glass panel as a power wagon. So we actually shot 11 bullets at our panel, and you can see we only lost 4% power. So we utilize the new MWT cell panel. You can see the copper in the back. So each part of the cell is connected directly to the copper backing plate. We put flux in between it. We make these in Holland now. They'll be made in Poland shortly. But as you can see, it's semi-flexible. So we make solar farms here, and most importantly, power wagons. The power wagon is towed behind a truck or a car, and we can put water, osmosis plant within the power wagon, so we can put it into brackish water or dirty water, and you can convert it into clean drinking water. We also have this plant that extracts the water from the air, so you can get pure drinking water that way, as well as nothing in the plant. You can charge cell phones, and you can have portable power. So you just tow it behind a car or truck, and we make those. They'll be made here in Poland as well. I'd like to say a few words about our partners, JWTC and Phase 1. They carry $750 million worth of bonding. So any big jobs that we do, Brian, if you stand up, say hi to everybody sitting over there, but we can provide bonding up to $750 million. They're used to working in Texas, Louisiana, and under FEMA, HUD, and they would like to work in the Ukraine on the rebuilding programs. The other system that we have is infrared, so we can heat the homes that we manufacture. Here's my aquaponics. As you can see, we can grow vegetables, and we have an upright system that comes apart like an oyster shell, and we can harvest the roots as well. And so for transportation, the produce won't rot or go off. We also have the heat pumps. So in the summertime, we can put the heat pump on to cool the unit down, and in the wintertime, you're nice and warm. Well, that's really what I've got to say about the products, and they're here to help Ukrainians and Polish families as well. We're here to help. I moved here in June, and I have Polish partners, and I have to say the Polish people have been so friendly to me and my family. I probably never experienced the warmth and friendliness from any other country that I've ever been to. I feel, although I can't speak your language, I feel you welcome me and my family into your communities, and I really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Malcolm. And we are moving to our last but not least speaker. I put Liam O'Hagan on purpose as the last speaker because I like your presentation most, because it combines two things I am doing in my life. It's about real estate and renewables. So, and it's about zero buildings. And I am glad to introduce Liam as a member of the Wright Would Help Foundation Council. He is a chartered engineer, vastly involved in many related professional associations. I will not name all of them. And as I mentioned, he has special interest in sustainability and in particular net zero buildings. Liam, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, thanks very much. Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, as Oleksiy says, I'm a consulting engineer. I have owned and managed an international practice of building services consultants for a period of over 40 years. I've worked across the globe on many and varied projects, some small, some exceptionally large, and many of those within the housing sector. And my career over the last probably 20 years has been dominated by sustainability and low energy. I grew up in Northern Ireland, and I went to Queen's University in Belfast in 1969, which was the height of the Troubles in Ireland. So I have some empathy with what the people of Ukraine are going through. I wouldn't even want to suggest that the Troubles in Northern Ireland were anything like the Troubles in Ukraine, but they were devastating nonetheless. And I suppose it's for that reason that I'm really, really keen and enthusiastic to support the people of Ukraine going forward. You've heard quite a bit of talk about solar energy and photovoltaics and battery systems and heat pumps, and all of those are the future. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But what I wanted to talk about in the short period of time that I have is about some of the new innovations that are coming forward, and hopefully you won't have heard of these before, and I'll be able to bring the good news to you. I think that Ukraine has a tremendous opportunity to rebuild its country and to adopt these latest technologies, which will not only reduce its energy needs, but will reinforce its infrastructure going forward against any form of aggression or attack. And I'm talking about standalone buildings that generate their own power, and they don't need an external source. So basically, how do we achieve that? So we achieve that by using two technologies at least that, oh, wrong one. And I was told when I was doing presentations in the past, never put a slide up with loads of words in it because people won't read it. So I don't expect you to read it. You can get a copy afterwards. But what I will tell you is that this relates to a type of software. It's called a Paris platform. And in essence, it consists of an intelligent piece of software that monitors a home's electrical usage. It looks at forward weather predictions. It looks at the time of day, external temperatures, cost of the predicted energy, charge conditions of your storage batteries, and it decides whether to charge your battery system or to sell the energy that's in your battery system and recharge it at a later point in time. It may sell it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when electricity is extremely expensive, and it may recharge it at 4 o'clock in the morning when electricity is relatively cheap. So I'll move on from those slides. If anybody wants to talk to me about the Paris platform, it's very new, it's very innovative, and it's been designed by a group of PhD students in Northern Ireland. My next slide looks at the latest innovation in glazing systems. And hopefully you won't have seen this before because it's been developed by a group of scientists in my old alma mater, Queen's University. And what it consists of is an inside skin of glass that's in the form of prisms, and in the bottom of the prism, this is outside, by the way. This is the inside. The prisms have photovoltaic cells bonded to the bottom of the prism, and in summer, the sun angle is very high in the sky, the sun doesn't penetrate the building, so it reduces the cooling. Sorry, I hope you can hear me. It reduces the cooling load. These cells are able to provide about 50 watts per square meter. Sorry, I'm going the wrong route. In the wintertime, you have a very low sun angle in the sky, so the sunlight penetrates the building and it actually heats the building, so it reduces the heating load during the winter period. The product is actually at the point of being commercially available. Because of the weight of it, it's probably best to manufacture it within the country. So I think there's a great commercial opportunity for a company on the Polish border or in Ukraine to start to manufacture this product. My next slide shows the floor plan layout of a building that Mark Krasniewski, who's in the front row here, a partner of mine from Warsaw, and we met about 7 or 8 years ago, and we've been working on this project ever since. The building can be a hotel, it could be residential accommodation, it could be offices, it could be a mixture of all three of those. And this is the actual building. The current building, as you see it, is about 19 stories in height. It turns the, I suppose, historic premise of a building on its head, in that buildings up until now were designed to reflect or deflect the rain, deflect the sun, and deflect the wind. And what this building does, it absorbs all of those elements and it creates energy, enough energy to actually drive the heating and ventilating and lighting systems within the building. And we're currently working with the University of the South Bank in London, who are a premier university on energy, to effectively substantiate the calculations that I've done as an engineer and that Mark has done as an architect. And we believe this is going to be the future. And we would be greatly excited if the first of these buildings was in Ukraine. And if you become really enthusiastic and you want more floors than that, we can give you more floors than that. And this is an extrapolation, really, of the design. And from the calculations we have, not only does this building generate all of its own power, it is capable of exporting power. And if buildings like this had been available and in Ukraine, people would have had energy, they would have had heating, because it would have been impossible to take out every building. So I hope this is the building of the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. We have over 2,000 of destroyed cities and villages in Ukraine. So I am sure there will be a place to put your innovation, and I hope Ukraine will become a place where it will be not a reconstruction, but it will be a new construction driven by technology. I am going to not to give the floor to you guys, but you will get an opportunity to ask. I am going to ask the same question to everybody of you, so each of you will have 1 minute to respond. And the question is very simple. What is your main challenge, either to implement the project you have, or to use the technology you have, or to create the design you have, to implement the construction? So what is your main challenge you are facing now? And I will give the floor to the mayor. The project is big, but you will try to make it in 1 minute, please.
За ці 9 місяців Україна отримала більше інвестицій, ніж за 31 рік незалежності. During last 8 months, Ukraine received more investments than during 31 years Ukrainian independence. І я переконаний, що динаміка буде достатньо позитивною. Але я би дуже хотів, щоб Україна ставала країною максимальних інновацій. Тому що тільки інновації є двигуном прогресу. Я маю конкретну пропозицію до своїх колег. Ви можете вже у Львові з завтрашнього дня ваші технології впроваджувати в життя. І ми можемо потім показати мерам інших українських міст, як це працює, щоб можна було потім шерити цю інформацію. Окей, ми вибудовуємо великий реабілітаційний комплекс, ми будуємо зараз житло для людей, які зазнали біди. Ми робимо якісні проекти високого технологічного рівня, і ваші інновації дадуть плюс. І ви особисто долучаєтеся до великої світлої справи. Тому що не просто перемогти у війні нам важливо показати максимальну динаміку розвитку, щоб весь світ зрозумів, що українці – це є та нація, яка має право бути одним з лідерів світу, тому що ми вистояли в боротьбі, яку ніхто не вірив, що ми виграємо. Ми кмітливі, ми маємо сьогодні шанс, і ви будете мати шанс разом з нами. Дякую вам.
Thank you. Boguslav, what is your main challenge, please?
Jeśli chodzi o nas, to każde zadanie, które robimy, jest swoistym wyzwaniem, ponieważ sporo tych zadań jest od nas niezależne. Jeżeli już powiedziałem o tym, że przygotowujemy miejsca na dłuższy pobyt i tutaj dla nas wyzwaniem jest czas. Chcielibyśmy zrobić to jak najszybciej, planujemy. Takie pierwotne założenie było, że zrobimy to do końca roku, aby uwzględnić jednak te ujemne warunki atmosferyczne i dać tą szansę jak najszybciej do tego, aby w te miejsca móc się wprowadzić. Natomiast jak zawsze diabeł tkwi w szczegółach i zawsze pojawiają się problemy i te problemy nas też nie omijają. Tych problemów jest dużo, natomiast no, jesteśmy mocno zdeterminowani do tego, aby ten projekt skończyć na czas, aby ten projekt skończyć do końca roku i dać szansę 400-500 osobom na to, aby móc wprowadzić się w to konkretne miejsce. Nasze Centrum Pomocy Humanitarnej też nie jest do końca od nas zależne, ponieważ jesteśmy na użyczeniu, ten teren jest nam użyczony na razie do końca marca i tak naprawdę chcielibyśmy dalej móc szansę pomagać i móc mieć tą szansę funkcjonowania. Natomiast to są te wyzwania, które są przed nami, ale nie do końca od nas zależne. Chcielibyśmy, ale są sytuacje, które nas w pewnym sensie mogą ograniczyć i doprowadzić w konsekwencji do tego, że te nasze projekty będziemy musieli my także ograniczać.
Thank you. So in my previous career, I was a former developer and built many things in the United States and specifically in Miami. I think what needs to be carefully looked at is the culture needs to be preserved in the architectural context of Ukraine as a whole. And what you don't want is a mix-mash of a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't have kind of an approval process. And I would highly recommend that every mayor in all of Ukraine, when it comes to rebuilding, has a department that starts coordinating these things, because, you know, his design is incredible, and I actually think it's an incredible design. But if you put next to it a design that doesn't match it, and then down the street you put another one, and then you put this, you lose the whole essence of what Ukraine is. And I think it's very important. And that's what I think needs to be carefully looked at, because I've seen it in different countries, and it could either ruin or make the country. So I was put on the Odessa 2030 advisory board for the world and conference. And I think by that time, there's going to be a brand new Ukraine, and it's going to showcase, you know, a modern city with all kinds of, you know, great modern things that are going to attract the whole world back.
That's actually a very good idea. We are working on them already. We are forming like the mechanism of how it can be done, like centralized and with one strategy and with one final look. And some as I know, some other architectural bureaus are already started their work on it as well. So I hope in some day we will create a Voltron from all the architectural studios and we'll do it. About our project, Ukraine housing, Ukraine system, our main point was and is to improve the level of shelters for IDPs. That will help Ukrainians and that will help all the rest of the world in future, because what we have now is outdated buildings, as we think. So that will help to many people, as we hope. That's it.
Thank you, Borys. Malcolm?
Yes, well, ours are building systems, so we don't want to get involved in architectural design. People like Borys and other people are best doing that, but what Michael said is very important to make sure that it fits in. So our systems are totally adaptable, particularly the block system and the EPS foam and the wire mesh and shotcrete. So we can build any type of home with those systems. The tiny homes was an immediate solving an immediate problem. We can produce up to 20 homes on a shift if they're all the same. But our biggest problem is getting going. We have a production facility in Canada, and all the slides you've seen of stuff that we've actually done. But our biggest problem now is getting the liquidity right for our company to be able to provide the solutions going forward. So that's our biggest problem now, is finding the investors that like the systems and believe in it, that can help Ukraine in the short term as well as the long term.
Okay. I think it's tremendously important that whatever is built back better. So that I know that after the Second World War, there were temporary buildings built across Northern Ireland and quite a bit of Great Britain. And those buildings are still being lived in today. They were meant to last like 15 years, so they've lasted an awful lot longer than that. And the people that live in them, they've become poorer and poorer. So some of them have become ghettos. So the last thing you want to sort of shake a flag to the world and say, well, okay, you did this to us, but we're better now because of it. So I keep thinking about build back better.
May I ask you to return the microphone? Thank you. That's great. I was totally wrong because I was expecting everybody will be saying my main challenge is money to do the projects, and what I heard was innovation, time, preserving culture and identity, improve the level of shelters, then getting the liquidity and investors and build better. So it's a variety of challenges we are facing, but none of them I see as impossible. And I think the answers were already there. So we are moving to our great audience, and this is wow. It's afternoon, and I thought, guys, we will be more or less 7 of us here, and we have more people than at the beginning. This is great. So please, your questions, and we have a lady over there with a microphone. Just raise your hand. Please shortly introduce yourself, and then ask your question.
Thank you very much. I'm an architect from Australia. Mark Kraftrinsky is my name, as Liam has mentioned. I would like to show this 90-second video of what this new building typology. It's a new way of thinking about buildings, not as defense mechanism, not fortresses, but of things that bring nature into our lives and use the power of nature instead of using coal or oil.
Yeah, we agreed
That's the
to
future.
that. Can you please put the video? Thank you.
Energy, clean water, the environment. As global population increases and nations grow in prosperity, our need for cheap, efficient energy, clean water, and a livable environment will continue to expand. These are the three key challenges facing humanity in this century. There are also three areas of significant opportunity for those willing to tackle those challenges with clever, innovative solutions. Imagine a landmark building which approaches these challenges with an integrated design and engineering strategy to take advantage of those significant opportunities and provide a solution which tackles all of the needs head-on. A building which harmoniously combines proven technologies to provide for all of its own energy needs and more. Elemental Flow Towers is this building. It takes its name from the managed flow of clean energy, which is drawn from the wind, from water, and from the fire of the sun, to provide one unified system of clean energy generation and storage. Elemental Flow Towers points the way to how buildings of the future will be built, if we want our children to live in the kind of cities that we would wish for them. So if I can sum up in 10 seconds, we have all these technologies individually used in different buildings already, but they will only work 100% if we combine 3 or 4 of them with the system that Liam was talking about, the Paris platform, to manage them perfectly in harmony. They work well together, and they provide 100% of energy needs for all the buildings that we build. So I hope we start to do this in Ukraine.
Mark, a question to you then, because I cannot not asking you. So if you consider just the technology, not the land where you put your building, what is the price per square meter?
It depends on how big a building you build, because it varies.
Imagine the big one you show.
The price is the same as a normal building, plus you add 20% for all the technology, all the new technology, all the additions, because the buildings are different to standard blocks. They are in 3 wings. So you add 20%, and then you get 30 years of free electrical energy, which you can sell at any price that the market can take. It's still going to be half the cost of energy from coal or from oil, but it's going to be free for 30 years, and the owner of the building can sell it or give it to the community for whatever price he wants. He can also charge electric cars in the basement because he will have more energy than he needs to use. So basically, it depends on the size of the building. Standard building plus 20%, and you've got it. But then you repay that 20% over the next 5 years because of energy costs at the moment. The next 25 years, you've got free energy.
Clear. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Thank you. I'm Robert Moretz. It's from Citizens think tank. The title of the panel is Temporary Shelter, Long-Term Housing. For me, it's a sort of contradiction. Michael just said that. It's the better you make temporary shelter, the longer they will stop being temporary. And that's I think it's negative. So the question to you is, if you agree that the better you make temporary shelters, the longer they will be there, and what are the solutions in general? How do you move people then?
You need to identify who we are putting the question to.
Well, I mean, we have the panel here.
Who is
so everybody, the mayors first. I mean, you're on the show, of course,
Yeah.
both mayors. And
Життя людини на землі, воно є тимчасове чи воно є постійне, на вашу думку? Якщо життя людини на землі є тимчасовим, то треба будувати тимчасові. Якщо життя людини на землі вважається як сенс жити красиво, так, то треба будувати красиві речі. Я категоричний противник будувати якісь шалаші. Сьогодні можна, маючи новітні технології, за 3-4 місяці збудувати хорошу будівлю, яка буде служити 50 років. Тільки треба думати, включаючи інновації. Я думаю, треба робити все правильно. Не можна робити отак, знаєте, взяти, зробити і забути. Робиш, роби добре. І показуй приклад всім іншим. Дякую.
Robert, I can just add that in Ukraine, we have a lot of temporary buildings built by Khrushchev, for example. and they are still. So we have a saying that nothing is lasting longer than something temporary. So yes, I agree with you, but the temporary shelters are needed to to bring people in, and that's why it is not about what we want, but it's also about what we need today and how to respond to the challenges we have to put really people who are now displaced and who are homeless. Please, the next question. Just introduce, please, yourself. Please stand up that we see you and introduce yourself and put your question.
I'm physician, internist cardiologist living in Rzeszów. And from one side, I don't like the promotion of myself or my company, but I have a question. Do you think that, unfortunately, during this terrible period, but it is very big possibility, very big chance for the Ukraine to have very big progress? I was, as a student, many times in Soviet Union as a guide, and it was, and I better speak Russian than English, but I wasn't during 30 years, and I was on Ukraine 1 year ago, and it was for me 1 year ago. It was a stress because I saw that is 50% of very rich people and 99% very poor. And 1 year ago, for me, Ukraine, it was a very bad country for investments. And I told also for my wife also, we have connections also with Ukraine. But right now, I think that, and I would like to ask you if you have the same opinion, that for Ukrainians right now is very, very big possibility to go ahead very quick, especially because of natural process after the war, and also because in this triangle, Poland, Ukraine, and maybe Romania, we can be as a hub, similarly, and in the South Korea, 60, 70 years ago. So Korea, it is right now country number 1, better than Japan, because they are exactly long working and quick working.
Yeah.
And I
Good
know
example.
Ukrainians.
Thank you.
Do you think it is?
I think we got the question, and the question, I believe, is to an experienced Ukrainian, and unfortunately I have to give it to the mayor again. So, and maybe I can share also a bit what my view is. So what do you think, will it be a chance for Ukraine? Will there be a jump after the war in changing the Ukraine and in development of Ukraine?
My duty developing my city, Lviv, and we invest huge money to medicine. And today we have very nice result. 2 months ago, we prepare first bionic prosthetics. This high level, this Ukrainian-American production. And I want then our first medical unique after 4 years will be in 200 medical unique in world. This is my ambition, number 1. And I think we must improve high-level technology. We talked about construction, okay, but I need your experience, and I think together with you, we made a good example. In next, we share our example to my colleague mayors of different city. This good moment for innovation, for building our future. Today in Ukraine, we create our future. A special moment. Welcome to my city, welcome to Lviv. Everyone have invitation for me, and together we create you a very nice idea about future. Thank you.
Thank you, the mayor. 2 cents from my side. I've been helping foreign businesses for 20 years investing into Ukraine. And I can tell you that I was never so sure that we will implement all the potential we have in Ukraine. So Ukraine is until today a country of unused potential, great potential, one of the greatest in the world. Doesn't matter in which respect. Is it great soil we have, or is this the 29 materials, critical materials we have in Ukraine out of 32 the Europe needs? Is it green hydrogen? Ukraine is going to be the next Gazprom for Europe, whatever. So I was never so sure that we will implement all this great potential. And Ukraine changed a lot since 2014. We made so many reforms that some countries in Europe needed 50 years for these reforms. And these reforms are not implemented. They are passed, not all of them are implemented. And after the war, I am sure they will be implemented. And a lot is happening still now during the war. If you would read Ukrainian news, you would see it's not only about the war. It's about fighting corruption, fighting oligarchs, and many positive things we need to change our country. Okay, we have a question over there. The gentleman over there was the first. And then we pick up another 2 questions, okay? And then we answer, because we have 4 minutes. So please put your question shortly.
Jeżeli mogę, bardzo krótkie pytanie. Jakie obszary zostały zidentyfikowane w Ukrainie, które znacząco zmienią możliwość inwestowania i rozwoju Ukrainy? Bo my wszyscy wiemy, że ma być dobrze, ma być lepiej, ale jakie te obszary zostały zidentyfikowane i co możecie obiecać, że się zmieni, że będzie można zainwestować bezpiecznie na Ukrainie?
Jestem przekonany, że wielki problem zawsze dla inwestycji to była korupcja. I jestem przekonany, że w tej sytuacji my rozumiemy, że u nas będzie tylko jedyny szans na życie. Tolerancja, korupcja zero. Rule of law. And we need, my potrzebujemy być członkiem Unii. Bo musicie zrozumieć, Rosja zawsze będzie zagrozą. Rosja zawsze będzie atakować. Jaki u nas był wybór? Unia i Stany tak cicho. Musicie sami. Jak sami? Oni na nas dawią 30 lat, atakują cały czas różnymi sposobami, a wszystkie mówią, no musicie jakoś sami. Potencjał jądrowy Ukraina oddała. Teraz mamy rezultat. Teraz Unia zrozumiała. Ukraina ma być członkiem NATO, członkiem Unii i wtedy każdy dolar, każde euro, które będziecie inwestować w Ukrainie, będzie otrzymało 100, 200, 300, 400% profit. Ale wspólnie musimy to zrobić. Dobre innowacje, dobre idee. Ukraińcy bardzo mądry naród. Widzicie, jak my dzisiaj walczymy. Kto wierzył, że Ukraina przetrwa ile miesiąc, że Ukraina będzie miała wiktorię? 1% wierzył, ale my wierzymy w Ukrainę. I wy też teraz. I tylko razem. Dzięki.
You know who will guarantee this? Our soldiers who will be back home. This will be the guarantee. Please.
Thank you. I'm Martin Duplantier, president of French Architecture Foundation. I'm an architect myself, working in France and in Ukraine. We're setting up an office in Lviv, by the way. I just wanted to tell you, we have to resist, because to the very fast track prefab solutions. We all know that during reconstruction eras, after the Second World War, but also after the First World War, we probably made the worst of architecture, right? So we have to anticipate things. We have to look at the resources of every single oblast, and we have to think of innovative solutions. I heard a lot of innovative solutions here, but we have to think about the Ukrainian innovation. What do we have around Chernihiv, around Kharkiv? What kind of ingredients does it give us to create the architecture of the place and not the Khrushchevka of the 50s.
We got your message. I think this was more a comment, right?
Exactly.
We had a gentleman over there, please, for a question.
Ksiądz Marek Machała, jestem archidiecezjalnym duszpasterzem migrantów w archidiecezji przemyskiej. Rozpoczęliśmy naszą działalność jako Kościół rzymskokatolicki razem z miastem Przemyśl. I to, o czym wspominał pan prezydent, właśnie te poszczególne miejsca, ja w tym uczestniczyłem, transportując najpierw prywatnym, później seminaryjnym samochodem, później wynajętymi samochodami ludzi pomiędzy tymi miejscami tymczasowego zakwaterowania, to znaczy najpierw z dworca, z granicy, właśnie na to, gdzie mogą odpocząć 1-2 noce. Słuchałem pytania: ojcze, co mamy dalej robić? I pierwsza moja odpowiedź była: najpierw trzeba odpocząć, a później pomyślimy, co dalej. I chciałem podzielić się swoim doświadczeniem, bo zauważyliśmy, że jako nasz region podkarpacki, szczególnie właśnie region bieszczacki, mamy duży potencjał takiego tymczasowego schronienia. Jest baza turystyczna i na tej bazie zaczęliśmy tworzyć pewien system, w którym przyjęliśmy dotąd 1500 ludzi na średni pobyt 31 dni, więc to daje nam 50 000 takich dniówek hotelowych, które zapewniliśmy jako Wydział Duszpasterstwa Rodzin Archidiecezji Przemyskiej. Powołaliśmy Fundację Duszpasterskiej Troski o Rodzinę, która ma pomóc nam, żebyśmy mogli dalej prowadzić tę naszą działalność. Ja szacuję pojemność tego regionu bieszczackiego na kilka tysięcy miejsc noclegowych, które już są. Nie musimy nic budować, zwłaszcza że branża turystyczna ze względu na pandemię przeżywała bardzo duży kryzys, więc mamy dobre możliwości, żeby wykorzystać to, co jest. I gdyby była większa fala uchodźców, to jest tylko kwestia środków finansowych, żeby zapewnić jedzenie, mieszkanie. Do mnie zadzwonił wtedy po prostu jeden z dyrektorów takiego domu, mówi: mam dom na 150 osób. Wiem, że są ludzie, którzy potrzebują pomocy, ale nie mam pieniędzy, żeby kupić żywność, żeby kupić energię, żeby tych ludzi przyjąć, tak? Więc znalazł się dobry człowiek, który wniósł jakiś wkład, uruchomiliśmy, szukamy dalej partnerów do tego, żeby kontynuować naszą działalność i staramy się otoczyć ich opieką, nie tylko dać im miejsce do spania, nie tylko dać im jedzenie, ale opieka medyczna, psychologiczna, edukacja, różnego rodzaju zajęcia, które pomogą im wychodzić z tej traumy, bo sytuacja, w której ludzie się znajdują, jest naprawdę bardzo trudna. Ja chciałbym, żeby świat nie zapomniał o tym, że ta wojna się nie skończyła, że ci ludzie, którzy potrzebują pomocy, ciągle tutaj przychodzą. I właśnie tymczasowe schronienie. Dlaczego? Bo ja z nimi wiele rozmawiałem i oni mówią: my chcemy wrócić na Ukrainę, ale chcemy bezpiecznie czekać na koniec wojny. Więc ja im mówię: czekajcie, ale trzeba czekać aktywnie, nie pasywnie, tylko aktywnie, pracując, ucząc się, wykorzystując czas. Bardzo serdecznie dziękuję za uwagę.
Też dziękuję. Yes, we thank you for your support, and I hope you can find partners at this conference. We actually out of time, but I give you the last word. Yes. May I ask you, please give the microphone? This will be the last question.
Hello, my name is Brian Benoit. I'm actually a contractor from the States that has actually put in over 100,000 temporary shelters throughout the U.S. from different storms, flood events, hurricanes, Puerto Rico. And what seems to be a general consensus is all these solutions have a right place for the different scenario, right? My question is does the Ukrainian government have a centralized agency that's going out and doing assessments to identify what solution is needed in what area, and then start from there?
This is the answer: no. And it's better we don't have. Our government is not the best to put the solutions in place. What Ukrainians showed that we can resolve issues on the ground, And I believe what you need to talk to, these are really the local mayors, the local communities. We had the reform in Ukraine. We are not anymore the centralized presidential state. The communities have great power to decide. Of course, some things must make sense country-wise, but many of the things, as you say, where to put the temporary shelters, where to put the long-term development,
shelter required, right?
or if it is required, exactly. I think this can be very, very reasonably discussed on the communal level. This is at least our experience so far. But there is no centralized agency. This is the answer. Okay, great applause to all our speakers and panelists. And I thank you all for being patient that far. And wish you all good and productive meetings here at the conference. Bye-bye.